Hi, I'm Lori Flaquette of Soltar Solutions, and today I'm here with another segment of Focus Forward. I am really excited to have this guest with us today. She made a debut and was on ABC's The Apprentice, which is a fabulous show. Everybody loves that. And today she is here to help us to understand how to run our businesses better, make more money, and grow those businesses more quickly. So I want you to help me welcome Liza Wisner on the show today. Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
That's great. Now, did I mispronounce your last name?
Wisner, Liza Wisner.
Wisner, okay, excellent. So, Liza, tell us, I know everybody asked, but I have to do it as well. What was it like to be on The Apprentice?
It was amazing. It's one of those experiences in your life, a journey that you go through that, you know, I like to tell people simply, it was my business boot camp.
Really? So it was educational as well as, you know, something that you were able to bring to the show. You also took back, you learned a lot from it?
I sure did. They put us in so many situations where you really had to step up and be somebody who you didn't think you could be in a role that you didn't imagine you could be filling. And you had to excel or you would get fired. So I really do call it a boot camp because you have to dig deep and get things done.
Well, that's great. So what did that actually do for your business? That, first of all, the learning, and then the other part of it is the visibility. So tell us about that.
Well, I mean, getting on the show itself is difficult. Lots of interviews. And once you're on the show, you know, it kind of brings into the forefront everything that you've done to get to that point where Donald Trump or his producers can look at you and say, wow, she's a credible person in the business world and we want to see her here competing for this position. And so for me, I felt like it was a platform for me to take everything I've been doing to the next level. So I really was able to capitalize on it and then it really enhanced my career.
Well, that's awesome. So how much time, first of all, how did you get involved with even being on the show? What was that process like?
It was pretty interesting. I was, you know, one day late at night, I was just kind of watching TV and I heard that Donald Trump wanted to hear stories of how people have been affected by the recession. So I sent an email, not thinking anybody was going to read it. And the reason I got on the show was because I started a company in 2007, and it was sort of close to the recession. And my business was affected dearly by the recession. I lost a few contracts. And of course, you know, the premise of the Apprentice season I was on was second chances, was taking people from, you know, doing really well, and then they were not doing well and giving them a second chance. So that's really, I think, for me, was what made it happen for me was I started my company and I was pushing for it to make it work, and it just, you know, wasn't happening the way I wanted it to.
So you just sent an email, and then what happened?
Yeah, it was really that simple. And actually, I didn't know that I was sending an email to be on The Apprentice. I thought it was just like, you know, like CNN, iReport, you know, you're just giving your insight into what the situation is. And 2 months later, I get this call from a lady, you know, it was like, hi, this is Heather from The Apprentice. And I was like, what? And the rest is history.
And then how long between that phone call were you actually on the air?
It took about 3 months because they had to do interviews and we had to, you know, go through all, you know, there's obviously a lot of paperwork, but the interview process actually took about seven days straight. So it was pretty fast, actually. It was faster than I expected. From the moment they told me that they would be interested to have me on the show, to being one of the finalists, to be cast, to actually making it on the show, it went faster than I expected.
Yeah, once they get into gear, it does move pretty quickly. So were you sequestered from the other people that you were going to be competing against?
We sure were, especially during the interview process. I mean, you really couldn't even make eye contact with anyone. You know, they didn't want you to make friends with anyone because when you get on the show, they want to have those relationships on film. So that's pretty much what kind of drove the show. Was we didn't know each other and we had to work together and build this awesome team that, you know, was supposed to be creating the most amazing product or solution for Mr. Trump's task. And, we didn't know each other. We didn't know how well we worked together. And so that was the challenge.
Wow, that's incredible. And did you actually make friends?
I sure did. Now, when you watch this season, it doesn't seem like it because there's a lot of work to be done. And I'm the kind of person who likes to buckle down and get the job done. But ultimately, I mean, we're talking about 2 years later, and I am pretty confident that I have some good friends from The Apprentice.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's a great segue into the topic of your business. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Okay, Lori, I tell you what, when I tell people about my business, I get so excited because I really believe that I kind of stumbled upon my business. Started off as a hobby, something that I was just excited about, wanting to support my children and their learning. And it just became this need that I was feeling in the community. And when I tell people about my business, I almost feel like it's the anchor. It's really the message of what business success really is. It's about filling that need in the community and giving people something that, you're sharing your gifts, you're sharing your passions so that you can support your community to be successful.
So your business actually is that you innovate you're an innovator. You help businesses to run better, to grow more quickly, and to make more money. How do you do that? Tell us about that process.
I work with a company called Insperity, and I'm one of their business performance advisors. And what Insperity does is it provides HR and business solutions for small businesses. My role, I am paid by Insperity to work in my community to make sure that businesses in my community are running better, growing faster, and making more money, which ultimately means that I'm helping business owners figure out how they can be working on their business versus working in their business.
Well, that sounds great, but I'm a little bit confused because it says that you started as a hobby and now you're actually working, but it doesn't sound like you were that was a hobby. So give me a little bit more explanation on that. Okay. I want the details. I want the details.
So my career has grown, since I started my company, and then I got on The Apprentice, and then I started my nonprofit organization called Power Up, and then eventually my path led me to join Insperity. And I joined Insperity with the mission of, helping my community be more successful because I really understood that helping businesses is really the key to our success. So I work for Insperity, but I still have my company, which provides technology integration for children.
Oh, I see. It's the technology integration. Okay, so how did that actually start? Give me a little bit of the background on that.
The technology integration business? Mm-hmm. That started off as I was filling a need with my children's school. They didn't have good technology integration in the classroom. And so literally I would bring my laptop and I would teach the kids after work how to use the computer, how to use different tools. And then sure enough, it just kind of grew into this business where now we have a computer lab that's a mobile computer lab that goes around to different schools and teaches the kids how to program, how to build websites, how to animate, and it's just been a great experience for me. I mean, I've taken my children from not knowing how to read, and now my son, who's in the 1st grade, reads at the 3rd grade level. And for me, that's amazing that technology has done that for him.
So that's awesome. So what was the connection, or what was that leap? How did you go from, volunteering at this school and showing kids how to use the computer to having this computer lab that's mobile? I mean, how did that take place?
It's called people. It's called having a community of people who believe in you. I really was doing it just for fun. And sure enough, it got to a point where I was getting a lot of calls and a lot of people were wanting the service I was providing. And so I had to start hiring people, and I had to put a program in place where I was training and helping people do what I do and making a bigger impact in my community.
Wow, that sounds great. So so now you have that business and you're working in another business that's also kind of community oriented.
It really is. I mean, it really speaks to my heart. I feel like I've made such a big impact just being in this role as a business advisor. I mean, Lori, I tell you, people underestimate the power of small businesses. they hire so many people in the community. I mean, there's just a handful of big corporate companies versus the amount of small businesses that actually support communities. And, you know, those business owners are the ones who are supporting the you know, Boys and Girls Club. They're the ones who are volunteering at the YMCA and really making the impact in the community. And I feel blessed to be in a position where I can help them be more successful so they can spend more time, you know, being great role models, engaging with the community, and enjoying their life, running their business.
So what kind of businesses do you help?
All kinds of businesses. We help businesses from 5 employees all the way up to, you know, 200, 300, 1,000 employees. It just depends on the situation. But mostly the businesses I work with have between, I would say, under, you know, 50 employees. That's really, I think, where the magic happens. Because a lot of business owners get to a point where they've grown and they can't figure out how to change things around so they can grow bigger or have the processes work better so they can enjoy running their business. And that's really where I thrive. I come in and I have a lot of different ideas, and I love to listen, and I like to meet the business owner where they're at. And I mean, Lori, we're talking about the springtime right now. I mean, the topic that I feel is relevant to the time we're at is spring. You know, spring into action is what I'm thinking, and it's all about starting new things, you know, new beginnings, and rejuvenating those ideas that you had for your business.
So how does one go about doing that? How does one go about springing into action and rejuvenating their business? They're busy all the time working in their business. They're afraid to take their eye off the ball. How do they take the time to do that?
Well, Lori, let me tell you, business owners a lot of times forget about themselves. And I like to think that business is more successful if the business owner knows themselves. You can only lead as far as you can lead. Have you ever heard of the Peter Principle?
Yes.
And that's really the core of what I try to help business owners understand, is that businesses rise to the level of the competency of the management team. And so if the management team is not making things happen, if the management team is disorganized, that's going to reflect on the business. If you see a business that's disorganized, then that's really a reflection on the management.
So in looking at that, what are the tips that you would suggest to those business owners that may feel like, yeah, I'm a little disorganized because I'm moving in so many different directions? How do you kind of stop the clock and say, I'm going to reshuffle this and get them more organized? How do you go about doing that?
The very first thing I like to do is visit with them and really understand, why did they start their business? I like to focus on their values, their purpose, and their passion for their business. There's got to be some spark somewhere that happened that had them come up with the idea to have the business. And I kind of like to bring that back, because in the bigger scheme of things, that's really the core of why the business exists. The little things that are done in the business, the processes, the hiring of the employees, the engaging with the community, those are all things that are going to help you have this big idea come to life. And by me understanding the value and the purpose of the business, I help the business owner really understand, why are they in business? Do they want to sell the business? Is this a business they want to grow until their children inherit it? Like, what is the whole point of working so hard to build this, you know, environment? And then after that, you know, everything just kind of falls into place, because I'm a big believer in setting goals. And if you set goals, the biggest goals you can set, I mean, the worst thing you can do is set a goal that you actually meet. And then, you know, you actually stop trying because you feel like you've met that goal. And so I like to have people dream big, like, what's the biggest dream you can have? And then set little goals underneath it, you know? And sometimes we end up where there's like 50 little goals under one big goal. But what that ends up doing is it ends up focusing the attention on what's the bigger picture. Tony Robbins has a wonderful quote. He says that many people they overestimate the amount of work they can get done in a year, but they always underestimate what they can get done in a decade. And I truly believe that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So basically you're talking about a goal-setting strategy where you break your goals down to small bite-sized pieces, if you will, and then you just work through those bite-sized pieces that is going to take you where you want to go throughout the year. Great advice. Absolutely great advice. So in looking at it, do you think that that is going to help the entrepreneur get more organized?
Yes. In fact, I think once you understand where you're going, once you have that understanding of what your passion is, then you're more focused. And you can make your attention based on where you're trying to go. Instead of trying to be all over the place, you're more focused on what direction you want to go. And it's always important to kind of think about a business as, it's a reflection of you as a person. If you're the business owner, the business is really a reflection of you. So, what do you want people to think of you? That's what they're going to think of your business. And I always try to bring it back down to the employees, especially when you hire employees. They're a reflection of you as well. And then, of course, your customers are going to see the employees, and that's a reflection of what your business is going to look like to the outside world. So it's really understand, like I said, the core really is the business owner. If the business owner is really engaged with an understanding of who they are and how they want to get there, then, they can take things to the next level easily.
So you've made an excellent point, and I just want to reiterate it. Basically what you're saying is, or what I'm getting that you're saying is, everything is a reflection of that actual business owner. Everything within the business, the way that they handle the client, the employee, the environment, the strategy or lack of strategy, everything is a reflection of that business owner.
It sure is. And it's funny how you walk into a business and, they feel like they're all over the place. And you just tweak a few things. You have the business owner think a certain way. And, you see that light bulb go out in their head and things change. And their employees feel more engaged. Their employees feel rejuvenated. And they get more customers because, you can feel that energy. Positive energy feeds off of itself. And that's how you really spark your business and take it to the next level.
So what are those things that you see commonly? What are the things that you see commonly? What are the changes that you make? You said you make small tweaks. So what are those small tweaks that you're making on a regular basis?
So the questions that I like to ask are, ultimately, how are you making money in your business? And if I feel like the business owner is really has their hands in the pot. They're really the ones who are digging in, and if it's a coffee business, they're pouring the coffee. They're ordering the supplies. If they have their hands in the business, it's going to be really difficult for them to take their business to the next level or to reorganize the business because they're so engaged in the process that they're not going to be able to see the bigger picture. So the first thing I like to do is help the business owner understand how they can reorganize the company or reorganize their business processes so that the business owner is not working so hard in the business. It's important to take yourself out of it. So, like, for example, with the services that I'm able to provide through Insperity, we provide payroll services. So, for example, we have business owners who, every week or every other week that they're doing payroll, they feel like, oh my gosh, here we go again, got to do another payroll run. And for me, I feel like, it's really important to understand that, is that a good use of your time? Business owners that are successful, they know the value of their time. And that's really kind of what drives their success, is they understand if they're doing something that, is not going to take them to the next level.
Okay, excellent. So take their hands out of the business. I think that's brilliant. I see that over and over, is that they're running around doing everything. So so what are the other things? What's the next thing that you commonly see?
The next thing I commonly see is a lot of businesses, especially businesses that have been around for a long time, they're using the same tools and the same resources that were used to start the company. And they may have been successful, but in this day and age, you can really leverage the technology advancements that we've had, especially with business. And so I feel like a lot of businesses are kind of stuck a lot of times because they haven't figured out a way to engage more and really understand how technology can help them help their business, so and reach more of a customer base that they wouldn't have had. Now, this is a great time, I believe, to figure out how your business can run better with technology, because there's so many services out there, and there's so many companies that are trying to take themselves to the next level at the same time. So this is a great time to, I guess, practice and try out new things and see how your business can operate better.
Excellent. So that sounds really great. So how difficult is it to really have entrepreneurs or business owners change? Do you get any resistance with that? Do you find that it's that they just jump right in and they change immediately? Or, give us a little bit of an insight into that.
That's the hardest part, Lori. I tell you, you meet them, you have a meeting with them, and the meeting takes an hour or 2 hours, and they're all gung-ho and excited, and they're really excited to work with you. But ultimately, it's those habits. I like to call everything that the business owner does habits, and they get back into their old groove of doing things the same way they did them before. Somebody gives them a call, and they say, "Oh, I'll handle it," instead of figuring out how they can have somebody else do that for them, empower their employees, delegate more, They just feel like, what, I can do it better, I'm just going to handle it. And sometimes it's about building those habits, building good habits. I have a lot of good friends in the business world that are, supportive to business owners when they're trying to change things and change their habits. And one of my good friends, Kendra Kinnison, in fact, I call her my habit chef, because she's amazing. She's figured out a way where, just like a chef, she has a recipe for how you can really take the things that you're trying to do better, whether it's setting goals, whether it's having priorities every day, whether it's figuring out how you can engage more with your customers and just building better habits to maybe be more thankful, because I feel a lot of times a business owner may not see how far they've come. They may think, oh, I have so far to go, but, maybe if you just take a little peek back and see, wow, look how far I've gone. Look the road I've covered. And sometimes just putting that open sign on the door, on the storefront, is enough to show you that you're still in business. I mean, how many businesses close down? There's a statistic that, every 5 years, 80%, I think it's like 50% of businesses that start end up, closing down after 5 years. And then the next 5 years, it jumps to 80%. So if you've been in business for more than 5 years, you should really be high-fiving yourself, because you've made it. You've really surpassed expectations.
So can you give me that stat again?
Right. I think it's from the Small Business Development Center. They say that 50% of businesses fail within their first 5 years. Now, the next 5 years is most crucial, and in those next 5 years, 80% fail. So if you've made it to 10 years, then you're one of the 20% businesses that have, exceeded expectations.
I think that's amazing. I had to write that down. I think that's amazing, considering that I've seen I've been working with so many different businesses, and one of the big problems I find is after a business gets to be a certain age, the entrepreneur is still doing the things the same way they did when they started their business. And the business success, I think, rests very heavily on their ability to make those changes, to do exactly the things that you're talking about doing. Go back and look at your habits. Create better habits. I think that that's awesome. The other thing, continually set goals. It's very important that we continually set goals. The other thing, look at how far you've come. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, look at how far you've come in just 3 or 4 months of us working together. You can see a difference that is it's just incredible to be able to look at that business and just with a little bit of focus, what they're able to do. So in looking at it, what do you think, how do you think people can make those changes? How do you think that they can make that to adopt? Because they've been working for 10 years in this way, and this 10 years has gotten them where they are. But this 10 years might not get them where they want to go. So how do they make that change? What is the impetus to make that change? What can you do to help them really embrace what it is that you're talking about and really get down and make that change?
You know what, Lori? That's a great question. And sometimes I like to tell business owners, you have to let go of that ego and you have to find out, do I need help with this or can I help myself? And if you feel like you can't get it done on your own, if you've read every book there is to read about how to take yourself to the next level and you're still not doing it, then it's time to ask for help. And help doesn't necessarily mean that you're, paying extraordinary amounts of money to a consultant to come in and change your entire life, because ultimately you have to do the work. Help means that you're in touch with the people who can help you. I like to call them community heroes, support systems. So whether it's reaching out to business owners that have been successful and they're enjoying running their business, and maybe buying them a cup of coffee and learning from them. Another way you can learn is I like to call myself also a coach, a business coach. And the reason I do that is I like to give the analogy of, athletes, professional athletes. They have coaches. It doesn't matter whether they're in the Olympics. It doesn't matter whether they're, the world record holders. They still have a coach. They have somebody who's standing with them shoulder to shoulder, making sure that they're not falling behind, that they're really meeting those marks that they said they wanted to meet. And I think of myself as that because, every conversation that I have with a business owner over the phone, over a cup of coffee, I feel like those are my gifts. I am paid to do what I do in my community. I don't expect anything in return from my community because I really enjoy, when I visit with that business owner and when they hang up the phone and they've just told me that I have completely changed their day, I've made their day. For me, that's my success. That's how I've won. So I like to tell people, give me a call. I'll buy you a cup of coffee if you're in my area or if I'm coming into a town near you, come to my events and reach out and I'll visit with you because you just never know where the conversation's going to go. You always need a person who's going to hold you accountable. You need to find that accountability person. So sometimes it's a matter of just, letting go of that ego and saying, you know what, I need help. I need somebody to help me take this to where I need to go.
Well, I got to tell you, that's awesome advice, and we're out of time. Thank you so much for being on the show. You are an excellent guest. Thank you, and I will be talking to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Have a great day.
Thank you. So there's another segment of Focus Forward. Was that awesome or what? I absolutely loved having Liza Wisner on the show. Thank you.